Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today's February 19th, and today we're going to take a detailed look at this system, diving down out of the northwest and the north into the Pacific Northwest this weekend. A potential for some lowland snow or frozen precipitation across lower elevations. We'll take a look at that and also highlight the fact that the Cascades of Washington and Oregon are going to get blasted with snow. Really heavy snowfall amounts coming up through Tuesday for the mountainous areas, and also for the Rocky Mountains of British Columbia. Coastal ranges are even going to get snowfall here too. You can see how the infrared satellite imagery here, this weak front moving through here today, generally light precipitation amounts at that. As the colder air is back here over the Gulf of Alaska, it's going to make its way down into the area tonight. The really cold air is going to finally settle over the region starting about Tuesday morning, but there is going to be a transition with a modified Arctic front moving down the Puget Sound, down towards western Oregon on Monday morning. So we'll look at that in some detail also. Jumping right into the rest of the country here, you can see the winter storm watches and warnings and winter weather advisories, high wind warnings for Montana as their pretty intense winter continues. They're going to get some pretty strong winds and some more snowfall in their future. And you can see some other high wind warnings there for portions of Wyoming, and generally pretty quiet around the rest of the country compared to what they've been getting in previous weeks. Checking out a little bit closer here, you can see the winter storm warning for the Cascades, mainly central. These Puget Sound Convergence Zone bands are really going to set up, and they're going to create some pretty heavy amounts. I wouldn't be surprised to see over 2 feet in some areas that get underneath one of these bands in a 24-hour period coming up here. And here is Pendleton, Oregon. You can see some of these big snowfall totals for Northeast Oregon, generally lower amounts in the lowlands, but you can see this highlights some of the totals for Cascades of Washington and Oregon as well. So heads up if you're traveling in the backcountry and through the higher terrain there through this weekend on into Monday, and especially if you're going east out of Washington into Idaho and Montana. So the cold temperature trend, you can see this is just kind of highlighting the big temperature changes coming in the next 3 days. Some places dropping, like Bend, Oregon, 33-degree difference, and a lot of places are 20-degree difference or more. And checking out the Spokane area here, Spokane, Wenatchee, Sandpoint, Idaho, Lewiston, Idaho. Some of these areas are going to be spending several days with high temperatures below freezing, so it's going to be very cold. Definitely a nice Arctic outbreak here. It's going to get over the entire region. Check out some of these wind chill values. Supposed to get to -5 to -15 below zero Monday night into Tuesday night. And of course, here's the snowy outlook. Pretty similar. You can see the snowfall totals going out through mainly Idaho and on into Montana here. So heads up if you're traveling on eastbound I-90. Also some windy conditions too as this Arctic air mass settles over the area on into Tuesday. You can see some powerful wind gusts. Check out Ritzville up towards 50 miles an hour, Spokane 35. And now looking at the North American continent, you can see Alaska here, Washington, and here's the next system coming through here. You can see the main part of the low swings east of the Rockies, but the troughing is going to impact the Northwest as this system moves down and through. Check out this Arctic air mass. It gets pretty well established over British Columbia here. And you can see the troughing still going on. We're getting into Monday morning here. So this is about Monday early morning Seattle time, about 7 a.m. You can see the troughing going on. There's going to be kind of a modified little feature that moves down the Puget Sound here on Monday morning into Monday afternoon down through western Oregon. And it's going to have some Arctic air filtering in behind it. So we'll just take a look at some detail at what kind of lowland snow we could possibly expect. But you can see this high pressure really gets established. We're going to be in a big offshore flow as we go on into early to mid next week, and we might get some really cool, clear days also. So no fog coming up next week as we get some strong offshore winds in the wake of this system. And now checking out the temperatures at 5,000 feet. Here we go. You can see the cold air really moving in, and it's really bottled up back there into central BC. And you can see that spreads all the way out, especially look at it and just intrude into eastern Washington, bank up against the Cascades there. And you can see it overspread the entire region, basically. Very cold air aloft will be in place by early Wednesday morning. And that'll show itself in some of these temperatures coming up. But let's take a look at the European model, hot off the presses here. This is tonight. Look at some of these bands, convergent zone bands that are going to set up over the Central Cascades. Intense precipitation amounts coming for potentially areas from Highway 2 towards I-90 tonight into tomorrow morning. So heads up if you are traveling eastbound out of the Puget Sound region into eastern Washington. Same thing if you're traveling eastbound out of the Willamette Valley into eastern Oregon. Look at some of these snowfall totals that are going to come through the Cascades. Very wintry conditions. And you can see the European highlighting some of this frozen precipitation that we're going to take a closer look at, by the way, here at the end of the video. And you can see that highlighting this through Monday morning here as this high pressure sags down and this Arctic air starts to seep through. And it'll cross the Puget Sound here with a strong northeasterlies out of the Fraser River Valley. And you can see this upslope snow potentially by Port Angeles as it runs into the Olympic Mountains, crossing the Puget Sound and the San Juan Islands there. And then this is seeing these residual bands here all the way into Monday night. These could really be some snowfall makers. Again, it would be isolated in here too, but potentially convective in nature. And it might even be something like small hail included in some of these showers and a lightning strike as this comes down the sound on Monday evening. You can see some of this precipitation hangs out all the way into Tuesday morning, kind of like in an upslope pattern almost there. We'll take a closer look at that here in a minute. Here is a 925 millibar temperatures here, 2,500 feet. You can see that cold air stream in, gets very chilly by Monday morning here. And you can see a lot of that is still bottled up here, but it's going to be seeping through at the same time. We'll take a look at the wind here and I'll be able to show you the modified Arctic front kind of moving down the sound. So here is before we do that, let's look at 2 meter temperature. This is minimum temperature within a 6-hour period. Here we are into Monday morning, and you notice we start to cool down as we get into Monday night here. That's why when I see those residual bands of precip around, we could easily get some, brief accumulations all the way down to the surface with any heavier showers. Getting into Tuesday morning here, you can see Seattle at 28, Portland 28. Look at eastern Washington, Oregon, really drop down into the icebox there. By midday Tuesday, it really only gets barely above freezing for Seattle and potentially not even that for Portland as we go through the day Tuesday. Here is Tuesday night. And look at some of these lows into Wednesday morning, 19 degrees for Seattle, 19 for Portland, into the teens and single digits for portions of eastern Washington, and even colder for the higher terrain. Check this out. And as we go into Wednesday night, Thursday morning, very cold again, into lower 20s possibly for Seattle and Portland. So a very substantial Arctic air intrusion here for late February. And you can see again into Friday morning, nice and chilly. Now we have to be careful here too. If we get a system that rides up in a correct pattern, we could briefly start off as snow or some freezing precipitation, especially for eastern portions if we get enough moisture in here. But that's a ways out, and we have plenty of time to watch that. But there's always a chance for an overrunning event when you get cold air in place like this. So diving into the wind speeds here, this is at 100 meters. So I just wanted to kind of show you, you can see that classic convergent zone signature tonight as these winds come wrapping around the Olympic Mountains here. And you'll notice the southerlies kind of hang on here, the southwest winds, all the way in through Monday morning. There's still southerlies through the sound. And then this feature starts to move through, this modified Arctic frontal passage as it slides down. You can see it here. This is Monday morning here, about 7 a.m. And then you can see that wind shift from south at SeaTac to north. And there's a potential for, some residual bands of moisture going through there with that boundary. Perhaps even a lightning strike or some small hail. As you can see, this now centered over Portland here too. We're actually going to take a closer look at these winds also, but check out these winds diving down to the northeast for eastern Washington. That's what they were talking about with those wind chill values. Monday night, you can see some pretty strong winds blasting through the basin out there. And the Fraser River Valley winds are going full bore here Monday night. Some pretty good gusts, potentially up to 45 miles per hour, even higher towards the San Juans, maybe 50 miles per hour. As you can see by Tuesday, we're fully offshore. This Arctic air mass fully takes over the entire region here. As you can see, north winds throughout Oregon, strong northeast offshore winds off the British Columbia coast and through western Washington as well. And that continues for a while. As you see all the way through Wednesday, we're still Wednesday morning. Then we start to relax a bit as we're still in a north flow there basically. And if we go on to the extended, you can see another system out here. And I'm kind of watching that one, but the longer we wait, the more this air mass will modify and the less our chances will be of starting off precipitation in some kind of frozen, with some kind of frozen precipitation we get into the future. And this is a little bit too far offshore to bring significant amounts, but this could change. So it's just something to watch, and maybe a system will move in a little bit earlier here too. So now we're going to take a look here at the modified Arctic boundary that is forecast for Monday morning. Here's a classic Puget Sound convergence zone signature tonight, as these bands are just going to blast into the central Puget Sound and create some really heavy snowfalls. And again, Sunday, you can see kind of a convergence zone signature here as winds wrap around the Olympics and meet over the central Puget Sound. And as we go into Monday morning here, notice southerly winds almost all the way up the Sound, and you'll see the feature here. You'll start to see north winds come on the north side of this feature here, still southerlies all the way up through Whidbey Island. And now this feature slides down. We're starting to get some outflow through the Fraser River Valley here early Monday morning, about 4 a.m. Southerlies still through the Puget Sound here as this feature is sliding down over the Kitsap Peninsula. And notice here it is here. Look at this little meso low that kind of moves down the Puget Sound as the outflow starts through the Fraser River here about 7 a.m. on Seattle time here Monday morning. And then you see the wind shift to the north. And this is the feature that I'm most interested with right here. This could potentially bring, it could be some convective showers here, maybe a lightning strike, maybe some snowfall all the way down to the lower elevations here. And look at those Fraser River Valley winds just going here at this time. Then we're all in a north flow all the way through into Tuesday morning here. And then we're fully offshore winds by that time. And now looking at the GFS here too, let's see how this compares to the European. And they're in pretty good agreement. I mean, you can see the high building up nicely over central and southern British Columbia and the residual troughing here going on into Monday afternoon. So pretty good agreement with the GFS and the Euro. So we have high confidence this event is incoming still, with our terrain features and just how much cold air gets in and just how these features line up. And the timing is also a big deal too. The sun's starting to become a little bit stronger. So anything that happens overnight into the early morning hours is going to have a better chance to stick on the lower surfaces around the Puget Sound. Now looking at the NAM 3KM here, this is going through today, and you can see the really heavy precip amounts going through the Puget Sound here as a convergence zone is over the Central Sound into Sunday morning, kind of slides south and redevelops through Sunday afternoon, even further south. So the Cascades are really going to get blasted with this event. This is good news going on into spring. If we can continue to get a few more of these events like this, building up the snowpack. And on into Monday morning, here's where it gets interesting. You can see a lot of this looks like it's snowfall in the 3KM NAM, the high resolution here, as these precipitation bands continue to feed into the coastal range of Oregon here into Monday morning. And it kind of cuts off the moisture a little bit more than the European does on Monday night. Let's look at some temperatures here too before we look at the UW GFS high resolution models. So you can see Seattle, look at this. Wednesday morning, we're looking down at potentially down around 20 degrees on some of these runs, even into the teens, and pretty chilly on Tuesday morning as well. As you can see, here goes our transition where we get the more mild onshore flow versus getting some of those northerly winds down through the Sound, that modified Arctic air through British Columbia on into the Puget Sound there. And this is for Everett, even chillier. Look at this Tuesday morning. You're down into the 20s, potentially mid-20s. And then you're probably down into the teens on Wednesday morning in Everett. And then you can see that continues on into Thursday morning. And again, we get really chilly for Friday morning too. So a nice cold air intrusion here. And there is some snowfall potential down the lowlands. When the precip gets over the area, you could see some accumulating snowfall. Once the precip stops, probably going to warm a little bit above freezing, but then once you fall below freezing that night, you could have that black ice on the road, or any of that frozen precipitation could stick around until the sun gets to it the next day. And here's for Seattle too. Again, there is that potential for a little bit of snowfall, especially the higher hills around the Seattle metropolitan area here on in through Monday afternoon. Here's Portland. Check it out. Wednesday morning, you guys are going to get cold. Thursday morning, again, Friday morning, a nice Arctic air intrusion. And so Tuesday morning, you're going to wake up and you're going to feel a difference for sure. Here is the lightning potential for the European. Let's go ahead and just look at this. And this is for Sunday afternoon. You can see this has been pretty good at picking up the last two convergence zone events, been pretty good at picking up that lightning potential through the sound especially. So we'll see how that works out again. But it is showing that potential for some convective precipitation moving through the region here. So that's mainly Sunday and Monday. Now check out this snow depth. This is snow depth, which might be a little bit of a better indicator. You can see the European actually highlights down towards SeaTac. I don't know if this is a little bit of a, some of the resolution here might bleed into the lower elevations here, but it does show a little bit more of a favorable area further south in the Puget Sound. And then you can see just off northeast of Seattle and some of the higher terrain could potentially get some snowfall as well. But we'll take a look at the higher resolution model and the UW GFS here in a minute. Looking a little bit closer at that, you can see how it kind of favors that SeaTac area for maybe some convergence zone activity as this modified front moves down Monday morning. So we'll have to take a look at that in a little bit more detail tomorrow. The HRRR will be in range by then as well. We'll take a look at the NAM 3KM and we'll try to pinpoint some areas where the models are favoring tomorrow morning. So now taking a look at, this is 1.33 kilometer. This really helps out with the effects of terrain. So a lot of the global models will bleed in the snowfall into the lower areas. And the 1.33 kilometer really isolates the terrain features really well. So now you can see there is some snowfall potential here. As you can see, just south of Everett there, this is on into tomorrow morning. I don't know how much of that would be hanging around, so I'm not really concerned with that. But then you can see as we go into Sunday night and Monday, this is the period of concern. You can see up here by Whidbey Island and north of Marysville, up towards Skagit and Whatcom counties here, you can see some snowfall accumulation showing up here as this Arctic boundary kind of moves down the sound. You'll see these westerly winds over SeaTac kind of turn northerly there, and then some snowfall starts showing up near the SeaTac Hill here as these winds push south and out, past Kent, Lake Youngs, southeast of Renton there, and some of the higher terrain off to the east of I-5 could get some accumulating snowfall with this event here going through on Monday. And you can see just these gaudy totals for the Cascades and some good totals for the Olympic Mountains too. Now here we're looking at lightning potential. This is for, here comes Sunday. Let's check out Sunday. This is Sunday morning, afternoon. You can see that lightning potential through the Sound and even down through western Oregon, especially on the coast. Hangs around on Monday again here too. So the UW GFS is in agreement here. We do have that chance for some small hail, some convective showers. They could actually bring the snow level down a bit more too. Get it closer to the surface here as we go on and through Monday. Now here we're looking at the simulated Doppler radar here. This is going through tonight. You can see some of these convergent bands going on to the Cascades. And you can see this move down overnight over Seattle and some of these convective showers as you go on into Sunday afternoon. Check out some of these vigorous little showers here in the convergence zone. These could be small hail or lightning here on Sunday afternoon. Check out down towards Tacoma, move southeast down towards Mount Rainier. Some good convective activity possible. And you can see now we're probably getting Vancouver Island convergent zone activity here as we go into Sunday night. And these, in my experience, can be, they can drop some small hail that cover the ground, cause a lightning strike. So that can be kind of interesting, a nice little fun feature. Now watch as we go into Monday morning here. It's about 5 a.m. This precip would probably be some snowfall accumulating all the way down to near surface here, if this is right. And you can kind of see this little mesoscale feature move down past Arlington, down towards Everett, and then you can see like this very modified Arctic front as it moves down through the SeaTac area there too with some potential snowfall. You can kind of see that mesoscale feature there, this little curlicue here as it moves down the Puget Sound. That would mark that boundary for the Arctic front, and you can see it move all the way down past Centralia, Washington Coast, and down towards Portland. Not expecting a lot of precipitation, snowfall accumulation down the I-5 corridor towards Portland. No, you might see some flakes mixed in, but I generally think that you're not going to get any kind of accumulation down to the surface there. So taking a look at the extended, here is last night's European run here too. We'll just take a look at this. There's our Arctic air mass here. Oops, let's do last night's here because this morning's is not fully loaded yet. So checking out British Columbia here now and the trophy, and there's our system as we go on into Monday afternoon, and that high pressure establishes when we get big offshore flow, nice clear days probably, a couple of them. And then this next system moves in here. And if it can get in here quick enough, maybe we could start off as a little bit of frozen precip, but no promises there. We're getting late into the season. It gets much tougher. And then you can see this ridge kind of rebuilding here, and it almost retrogrades another, some more north flow down onto us with some troughing. But the takeaway from this is that it doesn't allow many Pacific systems to get into our area again here as we go into early March. So we're going to increase our precipitation deficit if this is true. So that's just something to watch. This is the ways out, and we have a lot of time to look at this stuff. So hopefully this is, there has been a signal for it, but hopefully this doesn't, we need to build up this snowpack in our reservoirs here a bit more. But anyway, we will take a look at the higher resolution stuff tomorrow. Follow me on Twitter, Seattle Weather Guy, SEATTLEWXGUY on Twitter. I'll update today with some later model runs, and I will talk to you guys later. We'll talk about the high resolution stuff in more detail tomorrow and try to pinpoint some more areas. So enjoy this next episode of winter weather as we move on into midweek next week.